I've got a couple bay areas open. That's what you call in between the joists a bay. And I see where the water has gone all the way over to here, and I'm hoping it's before the next joist, before I make a determination. 16 inch center, so I'm going to go 16 and 32 inches, and that's right about on the edge. So I know I can cut out at least this next bay all the way over to here. So that's what I'm going to do next. Now, why am I explaining this to you? This is the important thing you got to catch. Your job is not going to be exactly like this, okay? Your job is going to be slightly different, but if you go through all these, the thought process that Joe goes through, you'll get through your job properly, all right? Hey, anytime I come across something I think about, I'm going to tell you, okay? Now, if the water damage would have stopped in the middle of a bay, would you just cut out from there? No, I would recommend going all the way to the next joist. You're going to need to put sheetrock backing up there anyways, and you can install your sheetrock backing up against the joist. It's very difficult putting backing in the middle of a bay, you know, depending how big your patch is. I know this patch is going to be bigger. So because the joists are going this direction, if they would have been going the other direction, I'd be doing probably the same thing. Cut it from joist to joist. Then we'll put up the sheetrock backing. But enough of that, I better get back to work. All right. Have you seen anything so far that you don't think you could do yourself? I didn't think so. Here's what I want to tell you about this sheetrock. When you take it out, you might make the assumptions that you don't have any sheetrock nails in here. I probably shouldn't make that assumption, and I don't want you to either. You know, look at it, make sure there's no nails in there, or even so, flip it down the other way. The last thing you want is to drop something this way and have one nail sticking up and have somebody step on it. And that somebody's probably going to be you.
Yeah.
Now before you cut your entire hole out, make sure that the material that you got is going to fit this. Last thing you want is to cut it just a little bit too far one way, and you know you got a 4x8 sheet of sheetrock, and you don't want to go too far one way or the other and overbalance your sheetrock in case you have to put a patch up there or go to the store and get some more. Now on this ceiling, there's a beam that goes all the way across about right there. And this water stain stops about there. I'm toying with the idea of just going over to the beam and cutting that sheetrock out to there. But before I do that, I got to make the determination of what I want to go over here first, because that's where the major portion of this water damage was. Plus there was a joint here. Once you have a joint, the water finds that joint from up above, and then it travels over. So even if I don't see it, even if I don't see the water mark any further than that, chances are this sheetrock is saturated over further. So I want to take the guesswork out on this side at least and go over as far as I think, and then measure and see how my material is going to work before I make my final cuts. You do the same. You had a question for me. What was it?
Well, how are you going to make all that straight so it'll fit in?
How am I going to make it straight? Well, first, I know the joists are going this direction, so I'm making the assumption that the joists are going to be pretty straight along here. So as I'm cutting this end and also this end over here, I'm going to follow the joist, and then that's going to be where I put the backing up there. Now, actually, even before that, if I wanted to, I could take my tape measure from joist to joist. I got 46.5 there. And I could check that after I cut this. We make a little cut right here. I have 46.5 at this end, and I'm going to check there, and I got pretty close to 46.5. They run these all on 16-inch centers. You pull your tape measure, you should have 16, 32, 48. And incidentally, if you ever want to check on there and you're not quite sure on a tape measure, there's red at every 16 inches. So if you ever look on a tape measure and you see black numbers, and then all of a sudden you see a red number, and then another red number, and another red number, that's every 16 inches. And most tape measure companies do that for a reason. Now you know. That's another reason why I cut an inspection hole first. Then I know where the joists are, where the edge of a joist is, and then I can cut it short and then finish it off with my saw from down here. You see how difficult it would be, first off, to find out exactly where that is. If you're just going to cut one hole and be done with it, I would not recommend you doing that. Even if you have a stud finder, yeah, you can find the edge of a joist and all that and make your cut, but then once you get up here, you might see, oh, I should have cut it a little bit short because I didn't realize there was a water pipe along there. I don't have enough room for my backing or electrical outlet or a vent of some sort or anything like that. Okay, so cut your inspection hole first and you'll be good to go. Now here's where the finished sheetrock edge is. And I know that because that's where that tape was, you remember? And I've made the determination that I'm going to come over about 8 inches. So I want to get a little bit beyond where the water marks were. Okay, so to follow up with that question, how to make it square? Well, first, I can do it one of two ways. Because this is a finished edge, and I've got it cut back to there, I can just measure off that 8 inches, can't I? Right? So I take my pencil, mark 8 inches there. And now I'm going to come over, make sure I'm on my finished edge of the sheetrock. I'm going to measure over 8 inches here. That should give me a nice straight edge. Okay, now, what if this is just a rough cut? Okay, well if you got a wall, now let's see how straight they've installed this sheetrock too. If you got a wall, let's say you go 8 inches, you put your mark. You don't know where square is, okay? You know the joist is here. Try to find a close wall. And we just happen to have a wall that's close, right over here. Okay, and most houses, they build everything square. Okay, so where this 8-inch mark is, I can measure off the wall. Because if I go that way, it's way too far. Okay, so I'm going to measure that. I got 39 5/8. Okay, so now I can come over to the side of this joist and I can mark 39 5/8 if I didn't have that. Let's just see how straight they are. 39 1/2. Okay, that's a 1/16 short of 5/8, and I was actually just a hair short 5/8 down at that end. So man, we're right on. Okay, so now I can connect. I can cut this little bit of sheetrock out. So I follow the joist here. Okay, I'm just going to cut out a little bit. Then I'm going to come down this other way and cut that. And I'll show you in a minute how I make a straight line.